of the county of Devonshire, one Mr. Godfrey Nickleby, who rather late in life took it into his head to get married.
And in due course, when Mrs. Nickleby had presented her husband with 2 sons, he found himself in a situation of distinctly shortened means, which were only relieved when one fine morning there arrived a black-bordered letter informing him that his uncle was dead and had left him the bulk of his property, amounting in all to £5,000.
And with a portion of this property, Mr. Godfrey Nickleby purchased a small farm near Dawlish. And on his death, some 15 years later, he was able to leave his eldest son £3,000 in cash, and to his youngest £1,000 and a farm.
The younger boy was of a timid and retiring disposition, keen only to attach himself to the quiet routine of country life.
The elder son, however, resolved to make much use of his father's inheritance. For young Ralph Nickleby had commenced usury on a limited scale, even at school, putting out in interest a small capital of slate pencils and marbles,
and had now in adulthood resolved to live his life by the simple motto that there was nothing in the world so good as money.
And while Ralph prospered in the mercantile way in London, the young brother lived still on the farm, and took himself a wife,
who gave birth to a boy and a girl.
And by the time they were both nearing the age of 20, he found his expenses much increased and his capital still more depleted. Speculate, his wife advised him.
Think of your brother, Mr. Nickleby, and speculate.
And Mr. Nickleby did speculate.
But a mania prevailed.
A bubble burst. 4 stockbrokers took villa residences at Florence.
400 nobodies were ruined. And one of them was
Mr. Nickleby!
And Mr. Nickleby took to his bed, apparently resolved to keep that at all events.
Cheer up, sir!
Said the apothecary.
You mustn't let yourself be cast down, sir,
Said the nurse.
Such things happen every day.
Remarked the lawyer.
And it is very sinful to rebel against them.
Whispered the clergyman.
And what no man of the family ought to do.
Added the neighbours.
But Mr. Nickleby shook his head, and he motioned them all out of the room, and shortly afterwards his reason went astray.
And he babbled of the goodness of his brother and the merry times he'd had at school. And one day he turned upon his face,
observing that he thought that he could fall asleep.
and so, with no one in the world to help them but Ralph Nickleby, a widow
and her children
journeyed forth to London.
Honourable Member of the Commons of England in Parliament assembled. Good morning! It falls to me today to announce the opening of a public meeting to discuss the propriety or otherwise petitioning Parliament in the urgent condemnation of the deplorable, heinous and generally deplorable state of the hot muffin and baking and delivery industry. Ladies and gentlemen, in troubled times like these, when naked riot stalks the Brighton streets and Romando overseas, the Russian bear is pawing at the very vitals of the empire. There's never been a greater nor a nobler task than this we face today. Now, Mr. Barney will read the resolution.
Excuse me. The resolution. That this meeting views with alarm and apprehension the current state of the muffin trade
And crumpet trade.
that it considers the present constitution of the muffin boy
And
wholly undeserving of the confidence of the public, and that it deems the whole of the muffin system
Crumpet! Sir, I must protest. Sir, I must protest and I must insist. I must insist and I must demand.
Yes.
And crumpet, sir, and crumpet. crumpets. Not just muffins, crumpets.
Is that an amendment?
It's a demand. And an amendment.
I see. Well, all those in favour?
No! No! 1,000 times no!
Oh, the ayes appear to have it, Mr. Bonnet. Continue.
And that it deems the whole of the muffin and crumpet system prejudicial to the best interests of a great mercantile community. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, I have visited the houses of the poor, and I have found them to be destitute of the slightest vestige of either a crumpet or a muffin. We can only conclude by this that the people therein do not taste from year's end to year's end, and it is this melancholy state of affairs that the company proposes to correct. Firstly, by dire penalties, stopping all trading of crumpets and muffins of any description.
He must be joking.
Secondly, by ourselves providing the company generally, the people generally, with hot muffins and crumpets at first quality at reduced prices.
He must be joking.
It is with this object that a bill has been placed into Parliament, and it is this bill that we have met to support.
What about the muffin boy?
And finally, all supporters of this bill can confer undying brightness and splendour upon England under the name of the United Metropolitan, Improved Hot Muffin and Crumpet Baking and Punctual Delivery Company. Capital 5 millions and 500,000 shares of £10 each.
Thank you, Mr. Bonnet. Miss Nickleby.
Seconded.
All those in favour?
No!
Carried by an acclamation. Meeting closed.
That's me.
What is it?
It's a letter.
Oh, the Ruddles mortgage, I presume.
No, wrong.
Well, what has come then?
I have
What else has come?
this. Postmark Strand. Black wax. Black border. Woman's hand. CN in the corner.
Yes, black border. I know the hand as well. I would not be surprised, Newman, if my brother were dead.
I don't think you would.
It's as I thought. He's dead.
Children alive?
Yes, both of them. In
Both?
London. Yes, and a widow, all three of them in London, damn 'em.
Terrible.
Go home.
Sir, please say nothing, please! Please be desperate, please, sir!
Bonnie!
Yes, Mr.
Put me down for 500, will you?
Mr. Nickleby, yes. They'll nearly double in, what, 2 months, Mr. Nickleby?
Indeed, indeed.
And when they do, you'll know just what to do back out at the right time, eh?
Yes, yes, just so, just so. I told you to go home.
I'm going.
What an interesting man that clerk of yours is, Mr. Nickleby.
Yes, yes. Kept his own hounds and horses once, but squandered everything. Took to drinking, borrowed in interest. I've done a little business with him as it happened. He came to borrow more. I need to employ clerks.
Yes, yes, just so, just so.
Anyway, 500, Bonnie.
Mr. Nickleby.
Anyway, what are they to me? I've never even seen them. Damn them!
And so Ralph Nickleby proceeded to the Strand
And found the number of the house.
and gave a double knock.
And waited for an answer.
Yes,
Is Mrs. Nickleby in?
Lacreevy.
I thought it was,
Nay, isn't it what you said? It's Miss Lacreevy. Who is it, Hannah? There's a man here wanting something. Who? And wanting what?
Oh, to whom am I,
Sir, I'm Miss Lacreevy, sir. and I'm a painter and portraiture and miniature, sir. And if I do presume to speak such, you have a very strongly marked countenance. Should that
Is there a Mrs. Nickleby lodging here, please, ma'am?
Oh, you're from Mrs. Nickleby?
That's right. I am Ralph Nickleby.
Hannah, stupid. Go and announce Mr. Nickleby to Mrs. Nickleby. Why, yes, sir. They have their apartments just here, sir, just across the wall from mine. And I must say, was an extremely affable lady, though of course very low in her spirits. And the children, too, most pleasant.
Over here, you say?
That's right, sir. But may I remark that if you should ever wish to have a miniature pool, perhaps you would have the kindness to take a guard of time.
Thank you.
Mrs. Nickleby, here's Mr. Nickleby.
Ah, Nicholas. Good afternoon. Oh, and Kate?
That is correct, sir. These are mine.
How are you, ma'am? You must bear up against sorrow. I always do. You didn't mention how he died.
The doctors could attribute it to no particular disease. We have reason to fear that he died of a broken heart.
What?
I beg your pardon.
A broken head or leg, I've heard of those, but a broken heart, well, I've never heard of that.
Some people, I believe, have none to break.
What was that? How old is this boy, ma'am?
Oh, 19.
And what's he mean to do for bread?
To earn it, sir, and not look to anyone to keep my family except to myself.
Good, good. You say the creditors have administered, and you spent what was left coming all the way to London to see me.
I hoped. It was my husband's wish I should appeal to you.
Why is it whenever a man dies with no property, he always seems to think he has the ability to dispose of other people's? If my brother had acquainted himself with the world and then applied himself within it, you would not now find yourself in this, in your situation. Mrs. Nickleby, my brother was a selfish, inconsiderate man, and nobody, I'm sure, is more aware of that fact than you yourself.
Well, that may be true. I've often thought of it. Listen to me. Yes, may well be true.
And your daughter, ma'am, what's she fit for?
Oh, Kate has been well educated, sir.
I'm willing to do anything that will give me home and bread.
Well, well. And you, sir, you're prepared to work?
Yes, certainly.
And read this. Caught my eye this morning.
Education. The master of the academy, through the boys' hall near Greta Bridge in Yorkshire, is in town and attends at the Saracen's Head, Snow Hill. Able assistant wanted. Annual salary £5. A Master of Arts would be preferred.
Well, there we are.
But he's not a Master of Arts.
I'm sure that can be got round.
And the salary is so small and so far away.
Hush, Kate, your uncle must know best.
Sir, and if I recommend it, I'm sure you will be taken, sir. And if you can find another job at the moment in London to provide you with shoe leather, then I'll give you £1,000.
So we must be separated then so soon.
Sir, if I am appointed to this post, what will become of those I leave behind?
If you are appointed and you accept, they will be provided for. That will be my care.
Then, Uncle, I am ready to do anything you wish.
Oh, well, who knows? You work well, you may rise to be a partner. Then if he dies, your fortune is made.
Oh, yes? Oh, yes. To be sure. Oh, Kate, who knows? Maybe there will be some young nobleman at the school or something who takes a fancy to me, and I'll become his travelling tutor when we leave. And when we return from the continent, his father might procure me some handsome appointment in his household or his business, yes? And who knows? He may fall in love with Kate and marry her. Don't you think so, Uncle?
Yes, yes, whatever.
Uncle, we're a simple family. We're born and bred in the country. We have never been apart, and we are unacquainted with the world.
Yes, but...
It will take time for us to understand, to apply ourselves to make our way in it, and to bear that separation which necessity now forces on us. I'm sure you'll understand.
Yes, indeed I do. Now, sir, shall we go?
And so the uncle and his nephew took themselves with all convenient speed towards Snow Hill. And Mr.
Beside the Saracen's Head are two stone heads of Saracens, both fearsome and quite hideously ugly. And inside on this January afternoon stood Mr. Squeers, whose appearance was not much more prepossessing.
He's only got one arm.
While the popular prejudice runs in favour of two.
Look, the side of his face is all wrinkled and puckered.
Which gave him a highly sinister appearance, especially when he smiled.
And the eyes got a funny colour.
And which indeed it was, a kind of greenish grey, in shape resembling the fanlight of a street door, through which Mr. Squeers was glaring at a tiny boy sitting on a tiny trunk in front of him.
Hello, sir! What's that, sir?
Nothing, sir.
Nothing, sir.
Please, sir. I sneezed, sir.
Sneezed? You sneezed? Well, that's not nothing, is it?
No, sir.
Wait till Yorkshire, my fine young gentleman, and I'll give you something to remember.
Mr. Squeers! There's a gentleman here to see you.
Show him in, William! Show him in! Now, dear child, why are you weeping? All people have their trials, but what is yours? You are losing your friends, that is true. But you'll have a father in me, my dear, and a mother in Mrs. Squeers. At a delightful village in Do the Boys near Greta Bridge in Yorkshire, where the youth are clothed, fed, booked, furnished with pocket money, provided with all necessities, instructed in all languages, living and dead, mathematics, orthography, geometry, trigonometry, algebra, the use of globes, single stick, if required, Latin, arithmetic, and all forms of classical literature. Terms 20 guineas per annum. No extras, no vacations, and diet unparalleled. Why, good day, sir. I had no idea.
Mr. Squeers?
The same, sir.
My name is Snorley. I'm in the oil and colour.
Well, how do you do, sir? And how do you do, my fine young sir?
Mr. Squeers, I've been thinking of placing my two boys here at your school.
Sir, I don't think you can do a better thing.
£20 per annum.
Guineas.
Pounds for two lads. They're not great eaters.
Then we'll not be great feeders, sir. I'm sure we can reach accommodation.
And this is another boy.
Oh, yes, sir. This is Belling, and the luggage he's sitting on. Each boy requires 2 suits of clothes, 6 shirts, 2 nightcaps, 2 pocket handkerchiefs, a hat, a coat, and a razor.
A razor? So what?
To shave with?
Sir, up to what age?
As long as payments regularly made.
I see.
Sir, let us understand each other. Are these boys legitimate?
They are.
They are.
But I am not their father.
Go on.
I am the husband of their mother, and as she has so little money of her own, and as it's so expensive well to keep young boys, and hearing of a school some great distance off, where there are none of these ill-judged homecomings 3 times a year that do unsettle the children, sir.
And payments regularly made, no questions asked.
I should want their morals particularly attended.
Well, you've come to the right shop for morals, sir. I think we now do understand each other. Mr. Squeers? Yes, what is it?
My name is Nickleby. I come on a matter of business. Perhaps you recollect me.
Why, yes, indeed, sir. Did you not pay me a small amount some years back on behalf of the parents of a boy named Doug?
Who unfortunately died in Yorkshire. Yes, that is right.
Yes, sir, I remember well. And I remember too how Mrs. Squeers nursed the boy, dry toast and warm tea when he couldn't swallow, a dictionary to lay his head upon.
Yes. Now, can we get down to business? You have advertised for an assistant. And here he is, my nephew, hot from school with everything he learned fermenting in his bed, and nothing fermenting in his pocket. His father lies dead, he is wholly ignorant of the world, and wishes to make his fortune.
Well?
I fear, sir, that you object to my youth and my not being a Master of Arts.
Well, the absence of a college degree is an objection.
And if any caprice of temper should induce him to turn down this golden opportunity, I will find myself absolved from offering any further assistance to his mother and sister. Now, if for the meantime he doesn't exactly suit your purposes, then perhaps... He's employed. You're employed.
Oh, sir.
The court sheet's 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, Mr. Nickleby. And you must be here a quarter before.
I shall be sure.
Your fare is paid.
Thank you, Uncle. I will not forget this kindness.
Be sure you don't.
Mr. Snorley.
Lots!
Mortgage letters come, and Mr. Bonny.
I know what Mr. Bonny says. It's a matter of some investment.
Yes, I know.
And we're late. You'd best get home and pack, sir. First thing in the morning. You heard what Mr. Squeers said.
Come on, Mary.
And there was so much to be done.
And so little time to do it in.
So many kind words to be spoken.
So much bitter pain to be suppressed.
The preparations for the journey were mournful indeed.
100 things seemed indispensable to his comfort Nicholas left behind.
As they might prove convertible into money if required.
100 affectionate contests on such points as these took place.
As they drew nearer and nearer to the close of their preparations.
Kate grew busier and busier and wept more silently.
And bed at last. And at 6 the next morning, Nicholas rose up and wrote a few lines in pencil to say goodbye, and resolved that come what may, he would bear whatever was in store for him, for the sake of his mother and his sister, and giving his uncle no excuse to desert them in their need.
Is this 2 pennies of milk, is it, William?
Sir,
What are our article milk is in London, to be sure? Now fill it up with water, will you?
fill it up, sir.
That's correct!
But, sir, you'll drown the milk.
Won't serve it right for being so expensive! Now where's bread and butter?
Yes, sir.
Wait! Ah, Nickleby. Sit down, we're breakfasting.
Good morning, sir.
Now, boys, when I say 1, young Snorley here takes some bread and has a drink of milk. When I say 2, the older Snorley. And 3 belly. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right, boys, wait. Subdue your appetites and you've conquered human nature. 1! Say thank you.
Thank you.
2! 1!
Thank you, sir.
Ah. Oh, dear Bellin, there's the yawn. You've missed your turn. Come on, boys, let's bustle.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ross.
Hush! Take it, read it. No one knows. That's all.
Stop.
No!
But...
Nicholas!
Mother. Kate, you shouldn't.
How can we just let you go?
Now, Nickleby, I think you better ride behind. I'm paid a Bellin falling off and there goes £20 a year.
Right.
Oh dear, Bellin, if you don't stop chattering and shaking your teeth, I'll warm you up with some air crashing in about half a minute's time. Come, Nickleby!
Oh, Nicholas, who is that man? What kind of place are you going to?
Well, I suppose that Yorkshire people are rather rough and uncultivated.
Nickleby, not done yet!
Well, goodbye, Mother. I'll meet you one day soon. And goodbye, Kate.
You're right.
Of course I will.
And a minute's bustle.
second day after Nicholas's departure, Kate found herself sitting in a very favourite chair, raised upon a dusty throne in Miss Nickeby's room, giving that lady a sitting for a portrait.
Well, I think I have caught it now, and it will be the sweetest portrait I have ever done, certainly.
It will be your genius that makes it so, I'm sure.
Well, you are right in the main, though I don't allow it's of such importance in the present case. The difficulties of art, my dear, are very great.
I have no doubt.
They are beyond anything you can form the faintest perception of. What with bringing out eyes and keeping down noses and adding to heads and taking away teeth all together, you have no idea the trouble one little minute you can be.
The remuneration can scarcely repay you.
Well, it does not, and that's the truth. And then sitters are so dissatisfied and unreasonable that 9 times out of 10 there's no pleasure in painting them at all. Sometimes they say, "Oh, Miss Nickleby, how very serious you have made me look." And at others, "La, Miss Nickleby, how very smirking," when the very essence of a good portrait is that it must either be serious or smirking, or it's no portrait at all.
Indeed. And which do, Miss Nickleby? Which am I? Oh.
Now, my dear, what's the matter?
Oh, it's just the shade. Is my face really red?
That's my salmon pink, my dear. Originally, I hit upon it for an officer, but it went down so well among my patrons that now I use it for almost everything. It is considered, in the art world, quite a novelty.
I am convinced of it.
Now, who can that be? Yes, come in. It's Mr.
I'm your servant, ladies.
Uncle.
Ah, is that my niece's portrait?
Why, yes, it is, sir. And between you and me in the post, sir, it is a very nice portrait too, though I say it as myself who shouldn't.
Well, don't trouble yourself to show it to me, Mum. This is Nickleby, dear. I have no eye for likeness. Is it nearly finished?
It is, sir. Yes, 2 more sittings will...
Well, have them done at once. She'll have no time to idle over such fooleries. Have you let your lodgings, Mum?
I have not put up a bill yet, sir.
Then do so at once. For they have no need of them, and if they do, can't pay for them.
Uncle, we're moving. Where?
I've no idea yet where either of you will be placed.
You mean we're to be separated?
Mother-in-law!
I have come to discuss accommodation for you and your daughter.
Well, this is good news, but I will say it is only what I would have thought of you. Depend on it, I said to Kate only yesterday at breakfast, that after your uncle has provided in that most very manner for Nicholas, he will not leave us until he has done at least the same for you. Those were my very words, as near as I can remember. Kate, my dear, why do you thank your uncle?
I'm a policeman, Mum. Pray, may I continue?
Kate, my love, let your uncle proceed.
I am most anxious that he should, Mamma.
Well, if you are, you had better allow your uncle to say what he has to say without interruption.
Mum, I am most grateful to you. There seems a complete absence of business habits in this family, leads to a considerable waste of words before business can be arrived at all.
I fear it's so indeed. Your poor...
My poor brother had no idea what business was.
Kate, my dear, have you nothing you wish to say? Tell your uncle.
I have, but I prefer to speak to him alone.
Kate, my dear,
I'll see you out then, Uncle.
Your servant, ladies. Well, what was it you wanted to say?
So then, my question, Uncle.
Well, I had some idea of providing for your mother in some pleasant district of the country.
Outside of London?
Yes, I thought so. But, if you're determined you wish to stay together...
I am.
Well, I have an empty house in the East End. You can live there until it is let. Is that more satisfactory for you?
Oh, I'm very much obliged to you, dear Uncle.
Now, please do not begin to cry.
It's very foolish, I know.
Yes, I'm most affected. Please, let's have no more of it.
boys for?
Oh, sir, you needn't call it an all up here.
Why not?
Because in fact it ain't an all.
A host of unpleasant misgivings, which had been crowding in upon Nicholas throughout the whole of his journey, suddenly thronged into his mind. And as he considered the dreary house, with its dark windows, and the wild countryside round covered with snow, he felt a depression of heart and spirit, which he had never experienced before.
No, we call it an all up in London because it sounds better. But they don't know it by that name here. A man may call his house an island if he likes. There's no Act of Parliament against it, I believe.
No, I think not, sir.
Well then, hey, door! Smack! Where the devil you in?
Please, sir, I'm fell asleep.
You fell what?
Please, sir, I fell asleep on the fire.
Fire? What fire? Where's the fire?
Please, sir, Mrs. Scissors was a woman.
Your missus is a fool! And you'd have introduced the dear old rifle in that cold!
Squeers!
My love.
Squeers!
There's boys! Boys to bed!
Oh, Squeers, how's my squeery dear?
Well, man, how are the cows?
All of them well?
And the pigs?
They're well as well?
Oh, that's a great lesson. The boys all as they were, I suppose.
They're all well enough. Young Sprouts has had a finger.
No. Damn the boy! He's always something of a sort!
Never was there a boy, I do believe, wherever he's got, it's always catching. It's obstinacy, I tell you. And nothing will ever convince me it isn't. I've been beaten out of him, and I told you that 6 months ago.
So you did, my lord. We'll see what can be done. Ah, Nickleby. Come in, sir, come in. This is our new young man, my dear.
Oh, is it?
He can shake down here tonight, can't he?
If it's not particular,
No, indeed.
that's lucky. Another brandy, Squeers?
Certainly, a glassful. Bold as father's short. But Cobby's sister said to summons.
Oh, that's good.
And Grey Marsh's maternal aunt said no money but 2 pairs of stockings and a tract.
Great Marsh's maternal aunt.
Ah, no.
More likely in my view, it's Grey Marsh's maternal mother.
Yes, what to do, boy? What?
There's nothing heard.
No, not a word. And never will be. And isn't it a pretty sort of thing that he would have to be left here all these years and have no money paid after the first 6? No clue. No notice to who you belong to. It's a pretty sort of thing, is it not? That I have to be a great fellow like you and all but to get 1 penny in return for it. Isn't it?
The boy put his hand to his head, as if trying to remember something, and then looking vacantly at his question, gradually broke into a smile.
That's better. Now off with you and send the girl.
I tell you what, Squeers, I think that young chap's turning silly.
I hope not, for he's an handy fellow out of doors and worth his meat and drink anyway. But come, I'm tired. I want to go to bed.
Clap the thing.
What's wrong,
A
Marty?
smooth spoon, I can't find it.
Never mind, my love.
Well, never mind, it's brimstone in morning.
Ah, I forgot. Yes, certainly it is. We purify the boys' bloods now and then, Nickleby.
Purified fiddlesticks. Don't think for 1 minute, young man, that we go to the expense of flour and brimstone and molasses just to purify them. Because if you think we run the business in that way, you're very much mistaken. And I tell you that plainly.
Ah, dear, shouldn't you?
Nonsense! If the young man does become a teacher, let him understand at once that we don't want any foolery about the boys. Partly because they'd always be ailing and giving a world of trouble. And partly because it spoils our appetite and becomes cheaper than breakfast and dinner. So it does them good and does us good at the same time. And that's fair enough, I'm sure.
don't know her equal. That woman is always the same. Always the same lively, bustling, active, saving creatures you see her now.
I'm sure it will, sir.
It's the custom why I'm in London to say she's like a mother to those boys. But she's more than that. She's 10 times more. She does things for those boys, Nickleby. I believe half the mothers going wouldn't do for their sons.
I'm certain of it, sir.
And so, good night, Nickleby.
Good night, sir.
My dear young man, I know the world. Your father did not, or he would not have done me a kindness when there was no hope of return. You do not, nor would you not be bound on such a journey. If ever you want shelter in London, they know where I live, at the sign of the Crown in Silver Street, Golden Square. You can come at night. Once, nobody was ashamed. Never mind that. It's all over now. Excuse errors. I have forgotten my old ways, and my spelling may have gone with them.
Yours obediently, Newland Knox.
P.S. If you should go near Bernard Castle, there is good ale at the King's Head. Say you know me, and I'm sure they will not charge you for it. You may say Mr. Knox there, for I was a gentleman then. I was indeed.
Now, Nickleby, Winder! Mops. Now, Mops's stepmother took to her bed after him he wouldn't eat fat. And has been ill ever since. She wants to know by an early post where he's supposed to go if he quarrels with his victuals. And why he would turn his nose up at Clark cow liver broth after his good master has asked a blessing on it. She is disconsolate to find him discontented, which is sinful and horrid, and hopes Mr. Squeers will flog him into a happier state of mind. Which he will. Now, boys, I would like you to meet my new assistant, Mr. Nickleby. Good morning, Mr. Nickleby.
Good morning, Mr. Nickleby.
Good morning.
This is the first class in English, spelling and philosophy. We'll soon get up a Latin one and hand it over to you. Where's small piece? Everyone think out a line and I'll the skin off your back.
Please, sir, he's cleaning the back parlour window.
To be sure, so he is. We got the practical mode of teaching here, Nickleby. C-L-E-A-N. Clean.
Clean!
To make bright, to scour. W-I-N. Win.
Win!
D-E-R. Winder. Winder. A casement. When a boy knows it's out of a book, he goes and does it. Where's Grant?
Waiting in the garden.
So he is, to be sure. B-O-T, bots.
Boss!
T-I-N, tin.
Tin.
Bottin.
Bottin.
N-E-Y, nay.
Yeah!
Botany!
Botany!
Botany, a knowledge of plants. When a boy knows that botany means a knowledge of plants, he goes and knows them. That's our system, Nickleby. What do you think of it?
Well, it is a very useful one at any rate.
I believe you. Sprouter, what's an horse?
A beast, sir.
So it is. A horse is a quadruped, and quadrupeds act as the beast. As anyone who's gone through the grammar knows. For as where's the use of any grammar at all?
Where indeed?
And as you're so good at that, go and rub my horse down, or I rub you down. The rest of you, go and draw water up until someone tells you otherwise, for it's washing day tomorrow, and I want the coppers filled. Exit! Mops and Bolton. Stay there, Smile. They'll be taken to their beds afterwards. This is the way we do it, Nickleby.
And Nicholas sat down, so depressed and self-degraded that if death could have come upon him, he would have been happy to meet it.
The cruelty of which he had been an unwilling witness. The coarse and ruffianly behaviour of Squeers.
The filthy place.
The sights and sounds about him all contributed to this feeling.
And when he recollected that being there as an assistant,
He was the aider and abettor of a system which filled him with disgust and indignation. He loathed himself.
Miss Price.
good morning, Ma'am.
Oh, Mrs. Alderson.
And John as well.
I see.
Mama? Do you want to come in?
Would you care for a glass of something, Miss Price? Mr. Browder.
Ah, we would that certainly act. Soon as I tie my horse.
Engaged.
Who is?
She is.
To whom?
To him.
At her age? Mind you, I suppose she's quite easy on the eye.
And after all, he's hardly what you'd call a gentleman.
Right then, let's have a glass of that summer and let's have it sharpish, eh?
No, certainly. Not what you call a gentleman at all.
Go on.
These blacks don't run away or get up a rebellion. And I want to do the same with our blacks, till such a time as young Bradford is able to take charge.
Am I?
And you what?
Am I to take charge of school when I grow father?
Yes, of course you are.
Well, I'll give it to him. Well, I'll make him shriek and squeal and scream.
Of course you will, my son. Of course you will.
Papa, who is this person, this young man?
Oh, it's a new assistant of your father's. He's got it into his head. He's the son of a gentleman that died the other day.
A gentleman?
If he's the son of a gentleman, I'll fond him.
Foundling! And he's nothing of the kind. His father was married to his mother years before, and she's still alive now.
Well,
and if you do dislike him, dear, then I do not know anyone who shows dislike him better than you do. And if there's a touch of pride about him, then I do not believe there's a woman alive who can bring a person's spirits down as quickly as you can.
Oh, is that so?
My lord.
Come, Bradford!
Well, so what's he like? He's lovely.
Hello? Please. Don't be frightened. You're shivering.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. My heart will break, it will. It will, I know it will. Remember Donker, do you?
Donker?
I was with him at the end. He asked for me. Who will I ask for, eh? Who?
Who do you ask for when?
No one. No hope. Hopeless.
There's always hope.
Is the outcast. O-U-T. C-A-S-T. A noun. Substantive. Person cast out or rejected. Object. And forsaken. Homeless. Me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking for my father.
He's not here.
I see. I beg your pardon, sir. How very awkward.
Please. Please don't apologize.
I thank you, sir. Oh, sir.
Name's Knox, from Mr. Nickleby to Thames Street.
Yes, we'll need a coach, I fear.
I'll get one.
Mr. Knox, didn't we see you on the morning when my son departed on the coach for Yorkshire?
Me? Oh no.
I'm sure of it.
No, the first time I've been out for 3 weeks. I've had the gout. Are you ready?
Yes. No, very sorry to be leaving you, Mrs. Creedy. Very sorry.
That's stuff. You can't shake me off that easily. I'll come and see you very often, come and call, see how you're getting on. And in all the world, if there's no one else to take an interest in your welfare, there will still be one poor lonely heart that prays for it night and day.
Can we go?
But going to be, there is no question.
Fanny, that is wonderful.
Be
eyes at this and turned the matter off very coolly, not minding particularly about anything just then, and went through the ceremony of the introduction to the miller's daughter with as much grace as he could muster. Your servant, ma'am.
We are only waiting for one more gentleman.
It was a matter of equal moment to Nicholas, whether they were waiting for 1 man or 20, and feeling out of spirits, and seeing no especial reason why he should make himself agreeable, looked out of the window and sighed.
Oh, Mr. Nickleby.
Oh, I'm sorry?
Oh, please don't apologise. Perhaps you'll find it occasioned by my presence, but please don't leave it. You should behave just as you would as if you two were at home. Tilda, I'm ashamed of you!
Here, the two friends burst into a variety of giggles, glancing from time to time at Nicholas, who, in a state of unmixed astonishment, gradually broke into one of irrepressible amusement.
Come now, Mr. Nickleby. Will we have some tea?
Oh, certainly. I'd be honoured and delighted.
Some bread and butter.
Please.
Well, John.
Well, lass,
I beg your pardon, Mr. Nickleby. Mr. John Browdy.
I'll do. Your servant, sir.
Yours to command.
Please, Mr. Browdy, sit down.
So, old schoolmaster got away, has he?
Yes, yes.
Old woman as well.
She has.
Just the four of us here.
That's right. Do have some bread and butter.
Totally. They won't get bread and butter every night, eh, man? In fact, if they stay here long enough, I mean, now the skin and bone. The skin and bone, eh, funny? I tell that teacher, that's one idea. When turned sideways, you couldn't tell were there.
Sir, look, I don't know whether your perceptions are quite keen enough to enable you to understand that your remarks are offensive to me and my employer. But if they are, at least have the goodness to...
If you say one more word, John, only half a word, I'll never speak to you again!
Oh, well, shut your mouth, innit?
What's the matter? Nothing! Well, there was never any danger of an altercation, was there, Mr. Nickleby?
No, none at all.
Well, say something kind to her.
What?
Better still, why don't John and I go off next door and leave you two alone together for a little while?
Whatever for?
Whatever for? And her dressed up so beautiful and looking really awful. I'm ashamed of you.
My dear girl, what is it to me how she is dressed or how she looks? It's hardly my concern.
Don't call me a dear girl. Well, funny will be saying it's my fault. We'll play cards. Big dear, please clear the table.
All this was completely unintelligible to Nicholas, who was under no other distinct impression than that Miss Squeers was an ordinary-looking girl, and her friend Miss Bryce a pretty one, and that he had been called to join in a game of speculation.
Now, who's part of whom?
I will partly you, Miss Bryce.
Oh, sir!
It will be my great pleasure.
Well, Mr. Browdy, it appears we're to be partners.
I'll deal.
Oh, please do deal. Well, Mr. Browdy?
I'll have 2 on spades.
Miss Bryce?
Bid 3. On hearts. I'll pass.
Then hearts.
Oh.
So then we've won.
Until there's something she's not expected to win, I think.
Oh, only 7, dear.
How dull you are.
Oh, no Oh, dear.
Pray, dear, don't mind me. You better attend to your partner.
Thank you for reminding us you had to be.
One diamond.
2 clubs.
2 diamonds.
Great clubs.
Pass.
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 I've never had such luck. It's all you, Mr. Nickleby. I'm sure I'd like to have you as a partner always.
Well, I wished you had.
Look, if you win at cards, of course, you'll have a bad wife. Sure is sure.
If your wish is gratified, Miss Price, we have all the talking to ourselves, I think.
Oh, but you do it so well, Mr. Nickleby. It would be quite an outrage to interrupt you, wouldn't it? 2 hearts!
Pass.
John dear, your bid.
My what?
Your bid.
Well, damn me if I take this any longer. And you are coming on me now, Tilda. And him over here can look sharp for a broken head next time he comes near me. Hold now, hold!
Master, what is all this?
Hold!
Fanny in tears now, what's the matter?
Oh, don't you bother when I'm done. You trouble to inquire.
Oh, you are being monstrous polite, ma'am.
Well, I shall not come to you to take lessons in the art, ma'am.
And you need not make self plain of any one, ma'am, because it's quite unnecessary.
And I can thank God I don't have the boldness of some people.
And I can thank God I'm having the envy of others. Now, wishing you a good night, ma'am, and pleasant dreams attend your sleep.
Tilda, I hear you!
This is one consequence, thought Nicholas, of my cursed readiness to adapt myself to any society with which chance carries me. If I had sat mute and motionless, as I have done, this would not have happened. What did I do? What did I
Oh, I swear there is no one in the world more miserable than I. And never has been. And never will be.
Well, I can't help saying, miss, if you were to kill me for it, that I never saw anyone look so bonkers as Miss Price's night.
Oh, now, Pip, no, you mustn't talk.
And I know it's very wrong of me to say so, miss, Miss Price being a friend of yours and all, but she do dress herself out so, and go on in such a manner to get herself noticed. Well, if people only saw themselves.
Now, Pip, you know you mustn't talk like that.
And so plain.
And I will hear no more of it. It's true, Miss Price has her faults, has many, but I wish her well. And above all, I wish her married. And I think it desirable, most desirable from the nature of her failings, that she is married as soon as possible.
Yes, miss.
Who's that? Come in!
Well, Fanny, you see, I've come back to you, even though we have had bad words.
I bear no malice, Tilda. I am above it.
Oh, don't be cross, Fanny. I've come to tell you something.
What may that be, Tilda?
Well, this. You see, after we left here, John and I had the most dreadful quarrel, and after a great deal of wrangling and saying we would never speak to each other again, we made it up. And John has promised that first thing tomorrow morning he'll put our names down in the church, and I'll give you notice to get your bridesmaids frock made now. Now, Fanny, there is the matter of young Mr. Nickleby.
Oh, him! He's nothing to me.
Come on now, Fanny, you know that's not true.
It is. I hate him. I wish he were dead.
Oh, don't be silly. You know you'll be thinking differently in 5 minutes. And wouldn't it be much nicer to take him back in favour?
Oh, Tilda, how could you have acted so mean and dishonourable? I wouldn't have believed it of you.
Fanny, you're talking as if I murdered someone.
Very near as bad.
Oh, don't be silly. Persons don't make their own faces. And it's no more my fault that mine is a good one than it is other people's fault that
went inside.
Well, here it is.
I see.
It's noted, of course. There are some bits of furniture, and there's a fire made up. I'm sure, though it looks a little gloomy, that it can be made quite
Yes. Well, my dear, is it not thoughtful and considerate of your kind uncle?
Your uncle? Yes.
Oh, Ma. This house is so depressing. One could imagine it's...
Oh, Lord, dear Kate, don't talk like that. You frighten me to death.
It's just a foolish fancy.
Well, I'll thank you to keep your foolish fancies to yourself, and not wake up my foolish fancies to keep them company.
Yes, I'm sorry. Mr. Knox, we need to detain you no longer.
Is there nothing more?
No, nothing really, thank you.
Perhaps dear Mr. Knox would like to drink to our healths.
I think, Mamma, you'd hurt his feelings if you offered it.
Gloomy and black, in truth, the old house was.
No life was stirring there. And everything said silence, coldness, and decay.
To elapse between what is pleasantly called the dinner of Mr. Squeers' pupils and their return to the pursuit of more useful knowledge, Nickleby was engaged in a melancholy walk and brood and listless saunter.
And Miss Price, who had spoken out Miss Squeers, was at the same time being taken by her best friend nearly as far home as the second turning of the road. Ah! Him! Oh, vanished! Should we turn back? He hasn't seen us yet.
No, Hilda! It is my duty to go through with it, and so I shall. He's going to shopping!
Miss Nickleby, come back!
Oh no, I shall!
Miss Nickleby!
What's the matter?
Squeers!
Oh dear, this foolish dateness!
It's not foolish, dear. You have no reason to feel shame. It's people who provoke it who should.
Ah, I understand. You still seem resolved to fix it upon me, even though I told you last night it was not my fault.
Ah, he said it wasn't his fault. Perhaps you were too hasty or jealous with him. He said it wasn't his fault. I think that's apology enough.
All right, Hilda. You've convinced me. I forgive him.
May I speak? I must say that I am sorry, truly and sincerely so, for having been the cause of any disagreement among you last night. I reproach myself most bitterly for having been so unfortunate as to cause the dissension that have occurred, although I did so, I assure you, most heedlessly and unwittingly.
Well, that's not all you have to say, surely.
No, it is not. I fear there is something more. It is a most awkward thing to say, as the merest mention of such a supposition makes one look like a puppy, but still. May I ask if the lady supposes that I entertain a sort of... Does she think I'm in love with her?
Oh! All right, so for me, Hilda.
Of course she does.
She does.
Of course.
She does.
Of course.
And you may also say, Hilda, that if Mr. Nickleby had doubted that, he may set his mind at rest. His sentiments are completely reciprocal. Whatever for?
Pray, hear me. This is the grossest and wildest delusion, the completest and most simple mistake that ever human being laboured under or committed. I have scarcely seen the young lady more than half a dozen times, yet if I had seen her 60 or 60,000, it would be and will be precisely the same. I have not one thought or hope or wish connected with her, unless it be, And I say this, not to hurt her feelings, but to impress upon her the real state of my own. Unless it be the one object dear to my heart as life itself, of one day being able to turn my back on this accursed place and never set foot in it again, or to think of it, even to think of it, except with loathing and disgust. And with that particularly plain and straightforward declaration, Nicholas bowed slightly and waited to hear no more, retreated. Squeers was of the firm opinion that she was prepossessing and beautiful, and that her father was, after all, master, and Nicholas man, and that the father had saved money, and Nicholas had none. All of which proved conclusive argument to her why the young gentleman should feel only too flattered by her preference, and all too grateful for her deep affection.
Oh, sir, I pity you! Mother! Mother! You right? Right about what? Mother, boy! You, sir!
Yes, ma'am.
You were wanted in the classroom 10 minutes ago!
Certainly.
Now through the house! Round up there! Snide! In here! You haven't finished yet!
Please, don't try. Don't, for God's sake, I cannot bear it. They are more hard on you, I know.
Except for you, I die.
No, no, you better off, I tell you, now I'm gone.
Go?
Yes.
You going?
Yes, I shall be forced to, yes.
Tell me. Will you go?
Forced to.
Tell me. He's away as bad as here.
No, there's nothing.
Can I meet you there? Away.
Yes, of course you can.
Can I meet you there? Away. And I will find you. In a way.
You would. And if you did, try to help you. I miss you terribly. But at least I feel that if my work here prospers, miss you terribly. I took a Latin class today. Boys are not advanced. There's much to do. The countryside is...
Oh, Nicholas. How happy it makes me to hear from you in such good spirits. It consoles me so to think that at least you are happy and comfortable.
here, sir.
What? Not here? What does this mean? Where have you hit him?
I have not seen him since last night.
Oh no! And you boys, do any of you?
Please, sir.
Yes, what's that?
Please, sir. I think he's run away.
Who said that?
Jenny, sir.
And where is Jenny? So, you think he's run away to you? And what, sir? What reason would any boy have to run away from this establishment? Hey, sir! That's you, Nickleby. I suppose you think he's run away.
I think it's highly likely, sir.
Do you? Perhaps you know he's run away.
I do not, sir. And I am glad I did not. But then it would have been my duty to have warned you.
Which, no doubt, you would have been devilishly sorry to do.
I should indeed, sir.
What's going on? Where's Mike?
He's gone.
Gone? Gone where? Well, find him, stupid! He must be on the open road. He's got no money, no food, nowhere to go. He must be on the open road.
That's true.
And when we find him,
And when we catch him, I'll only just stop short of flaying him alive. So, follow your leader, boys, or take my smack spatting if you dare. What have you got to say for yourself? Nothing, I suppose. Nickleby, to your place, sir. Sprouter! Well then, let's begin.
Oh, spare me, sir!
What's that?
Oh, spare me, sir!
Oh, is that all, is it? Well, I'll flog within an inch of your life, but I'll spare you that.
I will true to it, sir!
True to it! Not your fault, but mine!
oh, that's a good one.
Oh, this stop!
Who said that? Who said stop?
I said it must stop, and stop it will. I have tried to intercede. I have begged forgiveness for this boy, but you have not listened. You have brought this on yourself.
Get out! Get out!
I cannot, sir.
Can't! You can't! We'll see! Now step aside, sir. Leave it to my work. What?
You have brought this on! Considerable violence.
Eh, what?
From the hands of Mr. Squeers, but I have beaten him quite soundly.
Oh, what?
I said I've beaten him.
I'll be the schoolmaster. Who ever heard the like? Here, where I going?
What to London?
As I won't make cash.
Well, no, but as I plan to walk.
To walk to London? Look, man, thou needs cash. At least for food and such like. So where's money?
No, I couldn't possibly.
That couldn't possibly. That couldn't possibly without, sir. So here, please. Except, oh, and maybe they're not spend all of it. And send a surplus back, eh? Yeah. Take this timber too. If they're walking that far, they'll need that too. Yeah? Now, go off with it, alright?
Sir, I cannot thank you enough. After the words we had, I cannot.
I'll be the schoolmaster. I haven't been as good as up 20 years.
Spike! Spike! Why did you kneel to me?
To go anywhere, go everywhere. To the world's end, to the churchyard grave. I can't. You'll let me come away with you. You are mine.